as I've said before, sometimes it takes a while to come up on the outside feed and people can't see it later, so I'm just going to wait a few seconds.
You are good to go.
Excellent. Joshua Meyerowitz, 7 Chesley Drive. I'd like to do a quick update on UNH's continuing cover-ups and corrupting court proceedings regarding the May 1st protest. Aidan Turner was among the 16 people who came to speak to you on February 19th in favor of a ceasefire resolution. He spoke very briefly but very eloquently, outlining crimes that was supported by the U.S. government and also the impact on Arab citizens in and around Durham. He made a good case for Durham to do something. 5 months later, 12 experts in the U.S. government issued a joint statement explaining their horror of what was going on and why they resigned. They echoed a lot of things that Aidan had mentioned about killing and forced starvation, violation of international law, and so forth. They also added how we've seen peaceful protests met with accusation of anti-Semitism and with violence. And as I've told you before, and as you know, that was certainly true here with the governor's accusations and with then the crackdown on the protesters when they had not yet violated an overnight camping ban. So peaceful protests definitely met with violence. But as I've told you before, an hour before that major crackdown, the UNH chief of the first violence was when the UNH chief of police, a sworn Durham officer, charged into the protesters to wrestle away a small piece of fabric, claimed this was a de-escalation move, that Aidan Turner and Sebastian Turner had assaulted him, and that state police were needed to respond. As I told you before, just repeating truth in the face of repeated lies. There were no tents yet erected. There was no linked armed circle. Aidan Turner observed but did not touch the chief. Same thing with Sebastian Rowan, who was in the vicinity but not touching the chief. Sebastian Rowan was fingered by the chief for a takedown for assaulting him very violently. Then the charges were changed to Sebastian assaulting the officers who assaulted him. And on October 8th, Sebastian took a plea deal to avoid the felony charges possibly being reintroduced and to avoid the other charges. But back to Aidan Turner. Aidan Turner, who had never touched the chief, was not in the protest area, was not running away, was taken down violently, as you've seen, with no warning, and charged with multiple crimes. Aidan and Sebastian both spent the night and to the next afternoon in jail, and on this false charge of assaulting the chief. Then UNHPD created this fanciful affidavit explaining claiming that Aidan Turner repeatedly assaulted the chief when this was disproved by video evidence and confirmed by the Concord Monitor on June 30th. 72 days after the Concord Monitor exposed the chief's false affidavit, UNHPD shockingly provided the trial judge with a discredited affidavit. I was at the trial. She repeatedly referred to these false charges and how UNH police never overcharge, they never overreact, they're very sympathetic to young people, and she wanted to make sure that Aidan Turner understood the seriousness of what he'd been charged with, assaulting the chief. And she also questioned whether he actually knew anything about why he was at the protest, and said maybe it was just something not up your alley, but that you were interested in terms of joining into a protest. I updated the president of UNH about this on the September 17th forum, which I recommend you all watch. And also told her that it was really important to the truth to be revealed and to exonerate them for the media record that persists, that will haunt them the rest of their lives. 15 days later, I was shocked to see the president basically turn over the issue to the chief and to his after-action report, which basically exonerated everything they did, de-escalation tactics, a repeat of the false claims I've shown you multiple times about the sequence of events with not what happened and not what is easily shown on video. There is a working group that's operating, but its focus so far is mostly on policy, future-oriented policy, rather than the type of investigation the UNH Faculty Senate voted for. And there is an input for anybody watching this, anybody here, to send them with or without names input. I already provided them with all 3 of my prior presentations to you, which are also on YouTube, Facebook, and X. There's some question about conflict of interest here in terms of the chief allowed to investigate himself. These witnesses, Tom Cronin, who's now the President's Chief of Staff, and Michael Blackman, another witness, none of whom have told the truth so far, who are on the, is on the working group. So these are some issues I hope you will confront in terms of the town of Durham's resolution and the role of the Chief of Police as a Durham officer. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
while Josh is here, there's an excellent article in the Concord Monitor. I think many of you have seen it, and it raises an issue I think it might be good to clarify.